pinakamalakas na bagyo. No! No!
Today, we're taking you straight into the heart of one of the most devastating storms to ever hit the Philippines. Typhoon K, a massive beast packing winds over 125 miles per hour, tore through the central islands, turning busy streets into raging rivers. Entire neighborhoods vanished under 10 feet of water. Homes, cars, and power lines were ripped away in minutes, as terrified families climbed onto rooftops, shouting for help in the dark. Cebu, once a vibrant island of more than 5 million people, became unrecognizable overnight. Roads disappeared under rushing floods, and houses crumbled as torrents of water smashed through. Thousands were forced to flee as rainfall exploded faster than anyone could react. This wasn't just another storm. It was a night when every second meant survival. When Typhoon K made landfall, the first hit came in eastern Samar, forcing nearly 400,000 people to evacuate before sunrise. But the worst was still ahead. The storm intensified as it turned toward Cebu and the Visayas region. Winds roared past 140 miles an hour, snapping power poles like matchsticks. Roofs were torn off and hurled into the sky. Coconut forests that had stood for generations were flattened in less than an hour. And then came the water. Rivers overflowed their banks. Storm surges pushed seawater half a mile inland, swallowing coastal towns in minutes. In Cebu City's Bakayan village, the floods rose so fast that families barely made it upstairs before the first floors disappeared beneath swirling brown water. Cars floated off the streets and slammed into concrete walls. A shipping container yard was swallowed whole, massive steel crates tossed around like toy blocks. Emergency lines were flooded with desperate voices. "We're on the roof. Please hurry. We have children here. The water keeps rising." Rescue teams launched rubber boats into streets they used to drive on. The currents were so strong, they could sweep cars straight into rivers. Soldiers and firefighters broke down doors, guiding families through waist-deep water, carrying infants high above their heads. But for thousands left stranded in the darkness, with power grids destroyed and communications down, help felt heartbreakingly far away. As night fell, the storm turned into a living nightmare. With the power grid down, the only light over Cebu came from flashes of lightning, each one revealing streets swallowed by raging, muddy rivers. Families huddled on rooftops, soaked to the bone, shivering from the cold as they watched their homes and memories drift away into the darkness below. Emergency radios crackled non-stop with desperate voices. "We're trapped on the second floor, the water's at the windows. Please, someone help us." Rescue teams fought their way through the chaos, every step a struggle against the current. In some areas, floodwaters rose 10 to 12 feet high, submerging entire cars. Firefighters had to tie themselves to bridges just to keep from being swept away as they tried to reach people screaming for help from pitch-black homes. In Danao, the main entrance of the provincial hospital disappeared beneath the flood. Doctors and nurses carried elderly patients upstairs as backup generators flickered and died. Meanwhile, schools and gymnasiums overflowed with evacuees, hundreds of thousands packed into spaces meant for only a few thousand. Up in the mountains, landslides buried roads, cutting off entire communities. No power, no communication, no rescue. For 8 endless hours, the Visayas stood against a storm that seemed determined to destroy everything in its way. And yet, it wasn't over, because beyond the howling wind came another sound, something more chilling. The cries of a nation fighting to survive. To understand why Typhoon Kalmaegi hit with such extreme force, scientists point to one major factor: heat. The waters of the Western Pacific have gotten unusually warm, in some places reaching around 86 degrees Fahrenheit or even higher. For storms, that kind of heat is like jet fuel. Warm ocean water feeds tropical systems, loading them with energy and moisture. That's what allows storms to grow fast, sometimes doubling in strength in just a single day. And that's exactly what Typhoon Kalmaegi did. What started as a moderate tropical storm exploded into a powerful Category 4 monster in less than 24 hours. Meteorologists at the U.S. Joint Typhoon Warning Center watched it happen in real-time. Wind speeds shot up from about 75 miles per hour to over 140. Towering thunderstorms wrapped tighter around the storm's eye, fueling its rapid growth. But it wasn't just the wind that made Kalmaegi so dangerous. Warm air can carry an incredible amount of moisture, and Typhoon Kalmaegi was proof of that. In just one night, it dumped nearly 20 to 30 inches of relentless rain across the Visayas region. The rivers couldn't hold it. The city drainage systems were overwhelmed. Within hours, powerful flash floods tore through neighborhoods faster than people could escape. Experts have been warning, this isn't a rare event anymore. The Philippines faces around 20 storms every year, and with climate change, more of them are turning into catastrophic disasters. Kalmaegi wasn't just another storm. It was a signal, a chilling preview of what might become the new normal for millions living in one of the world's most storm-exposed nations. As night fell over Cebu, the storm unleashed its full fury. One by one, lights flickered out until the entire skyline vanished into total darkness. After midnight, all that remained were the terrifying sounds. The wind screaming through broken windows, glass shattering, and floodwaters roaring through streets where no water should ever flow. Search teams launched their boats, fighting to reach people trapped by the rising flood. But the current was too strong, pushing them back again and again. Downed power lines hissed and sparked across the water, turning every rescue attempt into a deadly risk. In Talas City, emergency crews smashed through windows to pull families to safety as the river burst its banks and swallowed entire streets. Along the coast, residents braced for a storm surge nearly 10 feet high, powerful enough to tear homes right off their foundations. As the typhoon roared through the night, millions sat in total darkness, whispering prayers that the water wouldn't climb any higher. It was a night filled with fear, confusion, and the desperate fight to stay alive. A night that changed how people would remember home, forever. When Typhoon Kalmaegi moved farther west, waves of rescuers poured into the flooded streets of Cebu and the Visayas, determined to save whoever was still out there. More than 500 emergency workers, backed by the Philippine Coast Guard and Air Force, battled raging floods and climbed onto rooftops to rescue those still calling for help. Before the storm hit, over 387,000 residents had been evacuated, a move that saved countless lives. But even with those efforts, thousands were still trapped. Rescue boats struggled through debris-filled waters, and helicopters fought against fierce winds. With power knocked out across major cities, communication lines went dark, right when people needed help the most. In packed shelters, school gyms, church halls, community centers, mothers tried to calm crying children under the dim light of generators. Volunteers handed out water and rice, while medical teams treated injuries, shock, and exhaustion. Every supply mattered. Every second counted. Across the region, roads cracked or vanished under landslides. Gas stations closed. Relief trucks crawled forward through mud and chaos. Even rescuers weren't spared. One military helicopter delivering food crashed near below, sparking another desperate search amid worsening weather. And yet, through it all, the spirit of resilience held strong. Police, soldiers, fishermen, ordinary people turned into heroes, launching their own boats to reach the stranded. Their mission was clear: find the missing, keep the living safe, and stop the next wave of disaster, from disease, hunger, or collapsing buildings. Typhoon Kalmaagi's winds may have calmed, but for those on the ground, the battle to save lives was only just beginning. As the floodwaters finally began to pull back, the real picture came into focus, and it was devastating. Typhoon Tino wasn't just another powerful storm, it was a wake-up call. For years, scientists have warned us, warmer oceans are fueling stronger, faster, and wetter tropical storms. What used to be rare is now becoming normal. Hurricanes and typhoons are growing more intense right before landfall, dumping massive amounts of rain and pushing storm surges farther inland than ever before. Cebu's destruction didn't happen overnight. It was decades in the making. Rapid urban growth pushed neighborhoods into flood-prone zones. Outdated drainage systems couldn't handle modern extremes. And this community was still reeling from a deadly earthquake just weeks earlier. Typhoon Tino hit every weakness, but it also revealed something powerful: human resilience. Strangers forming rescue chains, fishermen offering their boats, volunteers rushing in before officials even arrived. When disaster strikes, people come together. But resilience alone isn't enough anymore. Our infrastructure has to adapt. Our coastlines need stronger defenses. Our emergency plans must prepare for storms that can double in strength in just hours. And above all, we have to face the reality of climate change. because it's making every storm more dangerous. If Typhoon Tino taught us anything, it's this: the next storm won't wait until we're ready. When the winds finally died down and the floodwaters began to fade, what was left behind wasn't just wreckage. It was a story of survival. Every broken streetlight, every fallen tree, every rooftop where families waited for rescue told a chapter of courage. Across Cebu, Negros, and the Visayas, communities now face the long road to recovery. Homes need rebuilding, roads need clearing, and power must return. But above all, lives must be rebuilt, piece by piece. Typhoon Tino has become another name added to the list of fierce storms reshaping the Philippines. From Haiyan to Ragasa, and now Tino, each one reminds us that the planet's climate is changing, and those on the front lines aren't in government offices, but in the neighborhoods where families pray their homes will survive the next storm. As recovery begins, the people of the Philippines once again show their incredible strength, refusing to be defined by disaster, but by resilience. Tino may have passed, but its message remains clear. Being prepared saves lives, standing together saves communities, and staying aware can save the future. If you want to keep up with stories of survival and strength from around the world, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Stay safe, stay strong, and stay aware.